Hey, what's up everybody? BDO44 coming at you another video. Alright, so Stanley Johnson, Los Angeles Lakers player from last year. Of course, we sent off to Utah in the deal with THT to get Patrick Beverley, of course. And now, after a stint with the San Antonio Spurs, after being waived by the Utah Jazz, the Spurs have now released him, and he is free to sign with anyone he wants to in the buyout market. Now, because we had traded him to the Jazz, there were some stipulations against us picking him up. But I don't think those stipulations are in place right now. So he's free to join the Lakers if the Lakers are interested in him, that kind of thing. And he's shooting 45% from behind the arc this season for the Spurs. 45. Now, he was shooting great for us last year, but he's shooting even better this year. And I think it makes all the sense in the world for us to consider bringing back Stanley Johnson since he's a part of this thing anyway. He was so good for us last year for the shooting guard, small forward position. Obviously, we have different needs. Obviously, we have plenty of wings, but that's somebody who, when you talk about continuity, he already knows the system. He already knows a good portion of our players, and most importantly, he should have never been gone. Like, never. We shouldn't have traded him. There was nothing about that trade that I was feeling at all. Now that hindsight is 2020, he should have never been gone. We shouldn't even let him go. He should have probably been a part of our plans to re-sign him this summer. So I think the Lakers should give him a shot. I don't know. Like I said, the roster is different now. Okay, the roster is different now. But what was Stanley really, really good at for us? Defense. Wing defense at that. And the only concern anybody had about Stanley was that he wasn't shooting very well. It wasn't a problem we had with him. Certainly wasn't a problem San Antonio had with him. So I think it's a good chance he may go to another contender, given the fact that we did trade him and all that. He has all that stuff. But remember, one thing about Stanley is Stanley's from L.A. Stanley's an L.A. native, so he may be more inclined to come back to play for the Lakers, just simply because this is home from him anyway. Now, I know not everybody loves home. We know Russ Brooks from here. He don't want to be here. A couple other players from L.A. don't necessarily want to play for the Lakers. That's okay. But at the end of the day, aside from that, he also has a history here. We tend to go back and get players. We shouldn't have let him go, and all those different things that just point at this being something the Lakers should probably do. Anyway, even if we don't necessarily have the role for him, obviously we have Troy Brown now. Obviously we got all these different guys at that position, but I don't see one reason, especially since I understand that some of the other guys that we talked about in the buyout market are going elsewhere. Like Terrence Ross is headed to Phoenix, which is exactly what I think he should do. I remember telling people, I don't remember if I made a video on this or not, but I remember having it in my mind to tell you guys that Terrence Ross was free. And I think I uploaded something that told you that I thought he should go to Phoenix. So if I did say that, then that made me look like Nostradamus, because it was reported that he was going somewhere else. And I'm like, nah, he should go to Phoenix. So he's going to Phoenix. And Reggie Jackson is headed to Denver, from what I understand. Reggie's going to join the Denver Nuggets. And of course, the last thing I heard about Russell Westbrook, of whom we would not be going back after, but the last thing I heard in regards to him was Chicago. So I don't know if that's imminent or not, but that was the last thing I heard in regards to his name. So that leaves us with very little buyout candidates, which I think most Laker fans are not overly concerned about. I think all of us, after last night, don't really want to do anything but re-sign the people we have, which is something I haven't been able to say in about 6 years. I didn't feel that way about the championship team in 2020. They were too old. That's why I think I part ways with most people in regards to the opinion about the 2020 season's championship team. I don't think most of those guys should have been brought back. They were too old that year. We just so happened to pull it off because we were built correctly, which means that if AD and Bron are healthy and they have other pieces that are not taken away from the rest of the team, the chances are they got a good chance of beating the field no matter what. So I didn't necessarily want to bring that team back. I kind of want to do what we did in 2021 and this year. It just in 2021 we didn't do it that well. And then we went for the Westbrook thing after that, and it's been all hell since. But now the Los Angeles Lakers, of course, are in a position to where they have a team with only 2 stars and a bunch of guys that are ready to play roles, and some real good third-level guys, fourth-level guys. And I think the piece that they've been looking for in regards to Kyle Kuzma, who they were hoping to be their 3, we could potentially find a combination of players on this team. You see what I'm saying? It's the combination of Vando and D'Lo that ultimately make us available to have that Kuzma piece. I think that's what they wanted, was that combination. If Kuzma and Vando could become one person, that's kind of who the Lakers want their third star to be. So that's kind of what it is. It's like we didn't have to do all that. Just take the idea of what you want in a superstar and do it this way. Just split it up into 4 different players and have a deeper team. It's all about how you look at it. I think the Lakers said, well, if we don't have stars, then we can't win. It's like, no, it's built the opposite. You got to have the stars and then be able to have the role players, and they're just as important in the ecosystem of the NBA to have a full team. So we get that now. We understand that. We're not leaving ourselves without talent. And I think when I look at this roster, the Lakers, I think we may have a top 3 deep team in the NBA right now. After the trades that Rob made, I look from top to bottom, I don't see any players that I don't like. I don't see anybody that I feel can't be retraded. I don't see anybody that I feel I can't call on next man up if somebody goes down. I see a playoff team if AD's a part of it. I see a playoff team if AD's not a part of it. I see a playoff team if Bron's a part of it. I see a playoff team if Bron is not a part of it. Now, if Bron and AD both aren't a part of it, that's when it becomes a problem, because I don't think these guys can get too far without both stars. But I do believe that if you let these guys running around as deep as they are without Bron and AD, they have a chance of making a play-in tournament. I think our guys without our stars have a chance to make the play-in tournament. That's how productive most of the guys that we will be leaning on should be able to be in normal NBA basketball games. They ain't going to beat Giannis. They ain't going to, you know what I mean, the superstars. But if you send them out against some really good, solid players, we have dudes that can go for crazy numbers and make up most of what needs to be happening down there. You know, D'Angelo Russell, there's no reason to think that if for some reason AD ain't down there, he can't go for 30, 35 if necessary to fill the scoring. If the game goes into double overtime, he'll walk away with 50 points. You know he can. You know, it's one of those type of things. It's like, I don't think people really are considering the levels that D'Lo can actually reach when he gets into his all-star bag. I think people forgotten this is somebody who can average 25 for you right now. There shouldn't be no reason you don't give him a bunch of points and a bunch of looks that he can't go off for you right here and now. So, and then as he's 26 years old, maybe the level he reaches at 27 and 28 is even higher. I tell Laker fans to go back and study his college tapes. You know, as I've been talking about D'Lo, I say go back and watch some of those old tapes from Ohio State when he was a Buckeye. Go look at his shooting numbers. Go look at his overall play efficiency numbers. His play efficiency number, ability to make good plays over and over again for himself and others and be efficient in shooting. He was one of the best that year. That's why he was a second overall pick. No guard went ahead of him because of his basketball IQ and his overall ability to shoot the ball at a high clip and pass the ball in really, really short windows. I mean, the dude has very, very gifted athletic attributes that don't show up in being able to jump out the gym or nothing like that, but in precision stuff like that, he's going to hit the target 9 out of 10 times harder than, or faster or more sharp or more quickly than others. Hand-eye coordination, stuff like that. He's gifted. He's not just a hard worker. This dude was given something, and so that's what we need to rediscover. Is exactly how gifted D'Angelo Russell is. As a player overall, and I think there's a good chance that the player we inherited can elevate if we re-sign him. We might mess around and see him have career high games in our uniform, see him have assist games, high games in this uniform. You know what I mean? In situations where all of what he's learned in all of the different situations, including Golden State and Brooklyn, Minnesota, everything that he's gone through, including his stint here with Kobe, I think should ultimately turn him into an all-star once again. If for some reason he slots in perfectly next to AD and Bron next year. And I just, for me, I'm just assuming the Lakers are planning on re-signing him, because the golden rule for the Lakers is to not trade for anything that we didn't intend to re-sign. Now, we don't necessarily need to double down on a mistake. If D'Lo wants 40 a year, you got to betray that. And like I told you guys in regards to the trade, because we're getting other stuff back in multiple years, even if for some reason we don't keep D'Lo, it's not a failed trade. You still got Vando next season. You still got Beasley next season. And that right there is a home run for any team, especially with the needs we had before the trade. So for me, it's like D'Lo is a grand prize to keep. But if he prices himself away from us, it just is what it is. But I assume he will not. I don't know the market's going to be crazy for him unless he has a great second half of the season that elevates us to a championship, I don't think he's going to be looking to get more money than he's expecting to get. Probably less, given the fact that he's coming off something that is fully matured and it did what it did. Now I think teams are going to want to get a discount on his services and not overpay for him in the current market, especially as teams are learning how best to build. It's less likely they're going to want to take chances for pieces, especially somebody who's solidified at his best as a third or fourth piece, which I think D'Angelo would be in a championship situation, which I hope this is, that kind of thing. So we don't want to get too ahead of ourselves. Obviously, a lot is still leaning on health, and what we need to I guess we're going to have to imagine is how this team is going to look once you remove certain pieces that it's now going to be leaning upon. Because unless everybody's going to be Mikal Bridges, guys are going to get hurt and we're going to miss games. So how does this team fare without Vando? How does this team fare without D'Lo? How does this team fare? Those are things that we hope to not have to answer, but there are also things I think we're going to have to answer at some point. Just because we know what we look like without certain players on the previous team, we had already played 50-plus games with that team, so you knew exactly all the scenarios. But when you go into the second half of a season and you have a brand new team, there are going to be some scenarios that you may find that's going to be uncharted territory in moments you need it not to be, and we're just going to have to find our way to win through that. Guys get removed for foul trouble. We're going to have rotations on the floor that haven't ever been on the floor before down the stretch of the season, or maybe in the play-in tournament game or the playoffs. That's just possible, man. So I think that's where this team is going to have to be really, really smart, is trying to simulate different things so they don't get caught off guard by things they will see. With this being a new unit and them wanting to be a win-now team, they're going to have to be able to gel in those type of scenarios, having not ever been in those. So that's going to be tough, man. That's why I tell everybody, like, the idea that these teams that are making changes in the second half are going to win the championship over teams that have not made any changes at all and have had strong continuity, like Memphis and Denver, who have only made but so many moves, if any. It's going to be hard for the Phoenixes and the Dallases and the Lakers and the Clippers, who are incorporating so many new pieces, to beat those teams because of what I've described. Once certain so-and-so gets removed from the game on your side, if you're one of those teams, you don't know who the heck you are. And a team like Denver, they're not going to have those problems in those same games. In those same games, Memphis ain't going to have that problem. They're going to know their lineups, and when somebody gets removed, they're going to still be on the string, blah, 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 no trades. So I don't know that helps them overall when they go up against teams that are kind of constructed to defeat them, which I think the Lakers, we built this team with the intention of being able to stop those opponents. So speaking of opponents, I think it's important while we're talking about it. New Orleans is obviously a team we need to be paying attention to because we want them to lose as many games as possible so that we can continue to have the best chance of keeping our pick. Obviously, with everything going on, we would love to be able to inherit some type of lottery pick, even if it's not a great one. If we can land something at 2020, I think it would be 2025. I don't know how that kicks. But I don't know if this is upcoming draft. The logic is it seems to make sense, but I'm not really certain if it lines that way. So basically, my thinking is if we get a worse record than them, then they're automatically going to choose to swap and jump in there to get whatever top-level talent they can get for us this season. If for some reason they have a worse pick, my question is in regards to the swap, does it then become a pick that we draft, or does it kick down the road for some reason they still keep it if for some reason they don't draft it? That's what I'm wondering. Like does that draft pick go to us? I mean, I think the logic makes it so that it automatically would, but I'm not certain. So that's what I'm saying to you guys. Logically, yeah, of course, somebody got to draft a pick, but I'm just not sure how it works. So that's really what it is. Hopefully, we would be getting a draft pick this season, because of New Orleans having Zion Williamson health issues once again. That's what I was coming around to say. Zion got something going on where he re-aggravated that same injury and is now going to miss multiple weeks from this moment. So, it's with Zion, it's like, God, man, he's such a massive and powerful human being, but if his muscles are going to just not work with him because of it, or if he needs to do some things differently in his diet so that he can stay healthier, I don't know what it would be. But they're going to have to take him more seriously, man. They're going to have to do something different with that dude, or they're going to have to move on from him. I'm going to be honest with you. If I'm New Orleans, the last thing I want to do is what I just said. But you can't have a guy that's going to be eating up that much of your cap never available. It's the same problem they had with AD. You know, it can't happen. And I don't want to accuse their organization of not doing enough or whatever, but if there's something they can do to become a bit more Phoenix-y in regards to their health situation, because everybody knows Phoenix got one of the best, health systems in the league. For at least the last I heard, they do great with players who get injured and all that stuff, state of the art, everything. Maybe New Orleans needs to invest a little more in that area because they keep having these issues with their most important players. So far be it for me to know if they're not doing fantastic in that area or not. But just off of the sheer understanding that superstar can't get healthy, if I'm the owner, that's the area I'm looking at. I'm like, all right, man. If we're not state of the art in this area, we definitely need to become it because we can't harbor this superstar. He'd be this important, and then we can't keep him healthy. So that's a real thing. But nevertheless, hopefully New Orleans can not see success, maybe, so we can get our lottery pick, man. Seriously, especially since it's in this draft. And obviously, if it's a really good one, again, they're going to take it. So it would have to be the lesser of what they would choose, which means probably the second half of the lottery. And I say that with a question mark. So that's really what it is, man. That is what it is. I'm looking at that as something that could affect us in a major way, both in the standings and, of course, in how we're drafting if we were to draft. So, yeah, that's where I'm at, man. I obviously understand that the Lakers played last night. Even though that game kind of came and went, it was a great breath of fresh air. Bron didn't play, beat the Golden State Warriors. It was just refreshing more than anything else to see those young players down there taking on a boatload of what needed to be going on, while simultaneously not making some of the same mistakes that we've grown accustomed to. But I'd be lying if I said that game is going to stick out in my mind in the fullness of the season. I think that one came and went. We're happy. Obviously, we won it. It was a breath of fresh air, but what we need to do is just keep on piling up wins. And that's what it really comes down to. We do play again tomorrow. God knows who we play. I forgot. I think it's the Thunder. I think. I know we got the Thunder and Dallas and all different types of teams coming up very soon. New Orleans is coming up. It might be New Orleans coming up. I don't remember. It's one of them teams. And, we'll be ready for them. Whoever they are, we'll be ready for them. At the end of the day, we got the Bulls to play twice. We got the Knicks left once. We got Dallas to play. Thunder to play twice. I think Portland might be thrown in there somewhere. Clippers are thrown in there as well. So it's not going to get easy. We got Memphis coming up very soon. So that's what the Lakers are looking at. It's a bunch of teams that are going to be difficult to beat. We got a game against Phoenix at some point as well. We're going to have to see them before this is over. So everybody understands that the Lakers are going to have to find a way to win these type of basketball games. This is not an easy schedule. These are not easy teams we're going to have to be facing, even though a lot of those games are going to be at home. And it's one of those situations where, LeBron James's foot is going to probably tell a lot of what happens here. If we're going to make the play-in tournament, like I said, I do believe this team can do that without our stars if we continue playing the brand of basketball we saw last night. But if LeBron James's foot is going to be a problem to where he's going to be missing more games, it's rather difficult to see this team reach their highest level this season. Now, again, I don't really find myself looking at the timeline anymore after making the trades and thinking that everything's relying upon this season. I'm not of that mindset. Once we got the role players that we got, now we can feel good about just the team reaching its highest peak and then the continuity from this year carrying over into next season. And that's just a change of mindset after the type of trade we made. That wasn't what I was looking at, obviously, beforehand. But, we still want to try to maximize this team's opportunity. And we did all of this in a short window of time to satisfy LeBron James. So if he's not going to be available, it will definitely take away from what this roster could do. Especially since we got Vando on a $4 million contract. That's not going to be going on for too much longer. So this season, this window matters, man. This window matters. The reason why we have so much talent is because a lot of these guys are on contracts and they ain't been paid yet. A guy like Bombay ain't really got money. Well, he did get paid last year, but certain other guys, they're going to get bigger checks. A guy like Lonnie is going to get paid. Austin's going to get paid. So this is one of the last years where we're going to be able to have all of them together and be this deep. That's what we understand. Um, so that's what I want to say. If there's a way we can kind of manage LeBron James's foot injury so we can get him back in 100%, I think that's the way to go so that we don't have any Zion-like setbacks for Bron. Even though we got a short, second half of the season, probably like 30 games left, it would make us it would make us feel better if he could play through all of the injuries and all through all of that. But at the end of the day, if he's going to have setbacks for doing so, we can't let the timeline and the short window of games that we have left keep us from allowing him to heal for the betterment of his very long-term health since he's in his 20th year. That foot injury, whatever it is, doesn't have to go away at all. That's what we need to understand. It's like, if we don't allow it to heal, it's not like he's going to be turning 27 next week. The foot don't have to heal at all. And so that's one of those situations where it's like we just should be absolutely and utterly smart about that. If he needs to sit out another game, we need to just, grit our teeth and bear that. Because when it really comes down to it, it's not a whole lot we expect to be able to accomplish if he's not on the floor for us. If he's not on the floor, we're not getting too far. So that's really what it comes down to. And as far as Anthony Davis is concerned, man, I just don't feel comfortable with him running around at all. I would have traded him. Y'all know I would have. Traded him at the deadline. Now, I don't think that I'm saying that because he's playing not so great. In fact, I love what I saw from him on the defensive side. He was a superstar on the defensive side and was clutch on the defensive side. We won the game because of him in a lot of ways. But it's just about how ultimately we are relying upon him, and his health is so iffy, and you guys already know how I feel about that. And now I'm looking at how he's playing and his energy, and I just don't even know if he's really happy here. That's where I'm at. It's like, we know he ain't getting traded anytime soon, but he don't look like he's all that pleased right now. And I ain't heard nothing about him requesting a trade or nothing. Obviously he didn't, but I don't know, man. I'm just wondering if his energy is going to improve, if both physically and mentally. I'm just wondering. Or is this going to be a situation where he's going to be sulking all year? If he's going to be unhappy all year long and not his best all year long from here on out. And I'm saying we can afford for him to play the way he played last night and win regular season games. But once it comes around to being the playoffs, if he's not his best and we ain't worked him back into feeling like the old Anthony Davis before he got hurt, again, not too far. Not getting too far. So that's what I want to see, man. We made all these trades. We did all this. The fans are happy. It's time for the stars to get right. Whatever that means. If you got to sit out to get right, if you got to play to get right, it's time for both AD and Bron to recalibrate, refocus, and understand what the opportunity is in front of them. Their second championship is right in front of them. Because that field out there, it ain't that good. I'm telling you right now, it's about 29 other teams that I look at and say, after the trades we've made, we can beat you. Every last one of y'all. I don't think there's any team in this league that we can't match up with properly if we have our entire spectrum of players healthy. I don't think there's nobody. If Anthony and Vando are out there, I trust us against those big stars, man. I trust us against the guys that we need to. Giannis, Joel, we're going to be able to win games against those people if those two are healthy. I'm telling you right now, Zion, all those guys who we had trouble guarding in the front court, some of them big dudes, it's not going to be the same game once you got to deal with them two. It ain't going to be the same game. You're going to have some off nights if you're those guys. And if you don't have off nights, you ain't getting to the lane as easy. Not with Vando and AD down there. Nope. Not at all. And most importantly, it does give us some offsetting energy for a team like Cleveland, who has those stilts down there in Allen and Mobley. It gives us something to throw at teams that have those big players. And when we go up against Toronto, you're not completely undersized, because you best believe we have the size now with those guys now. So that's what it is, man. I think there's a lot of teams that have to deal with us now. You could laugh at the Lakers last week. But if you come in here dancing and laughing at us this week, it's going to be tough on you. It's going to be real tough on you. And that's with Bron and AD on the floor or not, which is really, really exciting. So, yeah, that is what I want to say. I want to give you guys, of course, it's the Kobe Minute Salute. I'm going to give you guys a Laker chat video this morning. And, just feeling refreshed that my team is feeling, like it's capable of competing with anyone. And so that's what it's all about, man. Can't wait for Mo Bamba to get in here. Obviously, we're going to be missing him for another game or two. And I know our roster is really, really deep, but it would be wise for us to find out what Devon Reed can do sooner than later. Now if we decide we want to pull people out of the rotation after seeing what they can do, I had no problem with that. If guys ain't no good, for some reason if something like that happens, we got enough players to play. But I don't know that Devon Reed won't play himself right into the starting lineup if he defends the way that he's been reported to defend. And the way that Darvin Ham likes defenders and shooters, there's a world where he steps in front of a guy like Troy Brown if he defends well enough. There's a world. And Rui Hachimura has a seat. Because I'm going to tell you right now, I like Rui Hachimura, but I don't think he's staying in that starting lineup very long. He ain't going to be there much longer. And the reason why I say that is because if he's not scoring the ball, he can assist with rebounding the ball. He can assist with having length. He can assist with all those wonderful things. But his foot speed is not going to allow us to justify starting him over Troy Brown, over Vando. It's just not going to last, in my opinion, if we're doing things correctly based on what I saw yesterday. Now, he's going to help us. Don't get it twisted. It's not like he's deficient in any way. I just don't know that he's the best option at the 3. Because he's slower than Bron. So if we're going to run somebody his size at the 3, might as well be Bron and put Vando at the 4. Have AD at the 5, and then you're not going to have any issues with energy to start the game. Now, the problem is how you're going to have energy coming off the bench. You would probably rather have Vandalorian coming off the bench in that regard since Pat Bev and Westbrook are gone. But for me, it's like, I don't know if Rui is my choice for the starting small forward. I like him more as a power forward. He's just slower, man. He's not fast enough to be a small forward in a lot of lineups, man. He's just not. And we do have players we could put there. Especially if we go and get Stanley Johnson, we'll definitely have that. So that's why I'm looking at the situation. I'm saying, we can get away with putting Rui there. But to start the game, that 0 for 5 yesterday, a couple boards, did some good things. It's just, I don't know. If I have to do it, I'll lean on it and be happy with it. Like last week, that's all we had. That's better than what we had before. But now, I see too many other rotation opportunities that we can get away from that if we don't like the matchup that particular night. That's basically what I'm saying. Certain matchups, if it's a slower power forward, we want to, or a slower shoot small forward, maybe somebody that we can take advantage of their size or something. Then of course you definitely pull Rui Hachimura in there and you start him. But as far as all the players that we got that we just picked up, I don't know that he's the highest level upside player of those guys. He might be third on the list behind D'Lo and Vando, in my opinion. So that's where I'm at with that. Maybe even behind Bamba, depending on how Bamba steps in and plays. I've seen Bamba play at high levels that have impressed me. So if he can step back into that, he too will be somebody that blows us away, especially being so tall, arms so long, longest arms in the game. That's another thing. People don't remember that Mo Bamba has the longest standing reach in basketball. So that's going to be someone that helps us tremendously blocking shots as well as Vando and AD. I mean, it's going to be very difficult to mess with us in that way. And then, of course, now that we're incorporating Wynja and Gabriel, I think that maybe Vando's can help Wynja a little bit because obviously he's played together, so that gives Wynjan's name a bit more pop when you consider, he played with Vando. It's like, yeah, they did, and they had some success in Kentucky with each other. So it's one of those situations where it's like, all right, you can definitely see situations where you want to play them. You want to play them a lot together. So we'll see. When Bron gets back, it's going to shuffle our rotation a little bit. Like I said, when Bamba gets in there, it's going to mess with that a lot. It's going to mess with that a lot. Which is another thing that might pull Rui out of the starting lineup. Once you have Bamba, you may feel better about putting him next to AD. Since we all wanted to see him next to TB, but coach never did it, it may not happen. But that's a really good option, especially when you consider Bamba wants to shoot from the outside and the mid-range, stuff like that. He don't even want to be in the paint as tall as he is. So that's going to make it so that we have that length on the floor, shooting the ball in positions to catch, the perimeter, the corner shots that we love to create. He can hit that shot easy. That's what he does. So I like that piece for us, depending on how well we can incorporate him into what lineups we have, because there's no reason why Bamba can't step back into a double-double threat with like 2 and 3 blocks with like 30 minutes a night. If he's to play like that, we got ourselves yet another steal. I don't know if it's necessary he does play that much, but again, that's what he's capable of. So that's what I wanted to share with you guys, man. Just a lot of excitement. And of course, we talked about Malik Beasley. I just think we should probably let him rest. I know he was listed as day-to-day yesterday. Whatever he's dealing with, it's probably best that we don't incorporate him out there, send him out there to look bad, and then judge him. No, let him heal. Let him get some practice in. Because at the end of the day, he's a designated shooter. So all we need to have him do is designated shooter stuff, running off of screens, relocation, dribble stuff. All that stuff is just, we need him working into a system. And once he becomes a part of that system, we just call his number. Boom, he comes in, does what he does, and we have no issues. But right now, it seems that there are issues because there's no continuity there, and then we're asking him to hit shots, and he's not able to hit them. So it left everybody with a bad taste in their mouth, but I just know that's scared completely. And once you get him in there at the system and doing the things that he can do, 2 or 3 weeks from now, he's going to be shooting like crazy. It ain't going to matter. Some of these struggles that we may have seen tonight or in that last game, rather. So that's what it is, man. That is where my head is. Just very excited about the new acquisitions of the Lakers, and also very excited about how the old guys look with these new Lakers. Austin Reeves is back now, healthy. That's like, been waiting for him to get back for so long. So to have him back there doing all the things that he does at a high level, I mean, it's been over a month. It's been over a month, and he just so happens to be coming in at the same time, more or less that we made those trades. So it's almost like he's a new acquisition to this roster, too. You consider what we've been living without, you just throw him right on in there. So this is great, man. We got so much more talent than we had last week. We're ready for the West. We ain't gonna run around saying we good in the West like John Morant. That seemed to be bad words to be saying, but we know we can compete with anybody, West, East, or whatever. We have a team that knows what it needs to do, and because we have a unit of guys who were part of this earlier season, they also understand how to not make certain mistakes and be a little more careful than maybe they need to be now that they have more talent. You know what I mean? So that's also going to work in our favor. We have a roster of guys that are used to having guys on their team that hurt them. So just like us fans are relieved, our team is going to be relieved. And they're going to carry some of those old necessary traits to keep them even better. That's what I'm saying. So look out for us in the playoffs. I think we're going to make less three-point shot mistakes. Certain things like that is going to come back and play dividends in the playoffs. We're going to be glad we had certain players on this team because it's just going to keep us disciplined. So that's where I'm at, man. That is it. Get Bron healthy. Hopefully AD can get his energy right. And we start really pushing forward, taking these games way more seriously in terms of winning than we have been. Because we left so many games on the board, load managing and just bad management. Load management and bad management. To ultimately, I don't think we can afford to drop too many more games, especially in the stretch we're in right now. These got to be W's. So that's why I was so pleased about last night after breaking that 3-game losing streak. We found one, and we just got to build from there, man, especially since it was on the road. That's even bigger. So that's what it is. I'm happy. I think we'll remain happy. Hopefully the Lakers can get into that buyout market if it makes sense and grab us a player like Stanley before the field does. 45% from behind the arc, Stanley Johnson. That's different. PDL 44. I thank you all for watching. I'm out.